Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 25th episode of Human Mode Conversation. I'm Nogol, founder of Glee Factor and the host of this podcast. And here I am today with Julie Carbone, who's the executive in PR and media. Julie, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. It's exciting on this Friday noon, end of May chat.
Yeah, gloomy, I have to say, for us in Montreal. So tell me, Julie, just tell me a bit about your story and then we're going to jump in.
And I believe we met maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I was heading up Publicis, so I was the VP at Starcom, which is the media division of Publicis. Before that, I have about 15 years experience, always on the media agency side. The biggest, the big. I won't say the big four because I didn't do Dentsu, but worked always with Fortune 500 brands. And then, so when we met, it was to talk about HR, to talk about team dynamics. It was a really interesting conversation. And then after that, I decided to take on a role at L'Oreal, where I was head of media and PR slash influencer strategies for the 39 brands in Canada, which was an amazing experience. And then I just had a baby who's 2 years old, and I have decided a couple of weeks ago to become a fractional executive, so doing media, PR, strategy for various clients, startups, as well as nonprofits as well. I'm on a board of directors for La Maison Bleue, which is a Montreal-based nonprofit that we can always talk about afterwards. And I have my own podcast, which is called No Ceilings, where I interview inspiring women that have shattered the glass ceilings in their respective industries.
Awesome. And I love this decision to just take, we were just talking about it before recording that we want to spend some time with our babies. So
Yeah,
sometime you just make those decisions and they turn out to be amazing decisions.
yeah. It was a hard decision, though, not gonna lie. It was a hard decision.
No, no, of course it is. And Julie, like as we were talking, I have this podcast. I started these conversations, especially in season two. I'm talking mostly to more executive level and senior leaders. And the reason is that I work a lot with younger leaders, like around early 30s, I would say, or late 20s. And I'm not going to say that I feel bad for them, but I just think that they're going through rough times. Like it's a lot of performing and transforming, unknown, uncertainty, like what's going on in terms of leading change. Am I going to stay relevant? So the idea was that, okay, I need to talk to people who've not necessarily been through this
Yeah,
experience
yeah, yeah.
necessarily, but somehow they know what is like leadership and how you can build your identity. So let's start. Always start this question that what does leadership mean to you, basically, and how did it evolve throughout your career?
Yeah. So also to put in context, I started working at 19.
Wow.
In the sense I was
Oh,
at Cassette as an assistant media planner, and then I grew through the ranks in that whole like almost 10 years. So I was a very young leader, real quick. Like at 25, I think I had like 5 direct reports, and I was just freaking out. So it to your point, it has evolved a lot. Leadership to me is like leading by expertise, but also um, creating a safe space. And I know a lot of people talk about this, like psychological safety, but like creating a
yeah.
safe space where your team can really flourish, grow, and also for you that you have like a great time, growing the teams as well. I think it needs to be on both sides. I think without like trust within leadership, you don't really go far in the sense that how can you have successful teams if people don't trust each other? So, and I think trust is built through time. And that's something I also learned when I would get into a new role and have teams that I didn't hire. It's really important to keep building that trust throughout the months, because it doesn't come it doesn't come like this. And even with clients as well, if you're on the agency side, working with clients, that it's almost again leading by expertise or by example time and time again, and really creating that safe space. And I think I'm going to share this. I forgot her name, unfortunately, but she was the HR lead at Netflix, and she created this manifesto, which I highly encourage everyone to read. And she had said, create resume worthy experiences for your employees. And I always thought, like, what can I bring to the table with my teams of like, is it like a really cool conference? Is it an experience in front of like leadership teams so that they can be exposed? And vice versa. Like I'll have demands for my employer of like, where
Yes.
can he or she bring me? And how does that, pan out through time?
I love actually what you're sharing. I've been working on the concept of psychological safety for many years. And to your point, many people, when they talk about psychological safety, they still think that as a leader, it's something that you do only for your people. But I just always mention this, that especially during this time that you don't have all the answers and there's so much unknown, the more psychological safety you can create within your team, the less stressed you will feel, because then you can access that
Percent.
collective intelligence and you
Yeah.
can rely on your team to, perform collectively rather than thinking that, oh my goodness, it's only me doing the work. So I'm so happy that you just also brought that nuance that is not only for the team, but it's also for you as a leader as well.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And that's how it can also and I think, it's psychological safety and also setting a clear vision for your team
Yes,
in the
clarity,
sense that
yes.
if you build trust, then you're super open with presenting. Like I would love to present my roadmap to the team. And sometimes I know
Yeah.
it would like ruffle certain feathers of certain people because they're like, oh, really? Why is she sharing this? Like, she's so transparent. But in a way, it's like the reason I'm sharing I'm sharing this with you is that if you can help me achieve those goals, then we're all winning as a team. So
Yeah.
and I think transparency though is not for everyone as well. I've always said sometimes I don't want to have criticism that isn't constructive. Like I've been in
Yes.
organizations where people are so transparent that it becomes not constructive. So yeah, anyway.
And but that's also another very good point, Julie, because when we talk about psychological safety and we say what is not psychological safety, we always say that it's a climate characterized by candor. And the minute we say candor, everyone thinks that it means direct, mean, harmful, and said, no, no, no. We always have to keep that respect, the environment of no judgment and no fear in mind. So to your point, like what I'm sharing, does this bring value to the table, positive or negative one, but does this bring value? If not, like, why do you do that? Like, directness without respect, it's just going to ruin that trust.
I also like to think like, what's the tone I'm going to use to deliver this news? What's the tone I would want to hear if I was on the other side? And I know it's like easier said than done, and sometimes in the heat of the moment when there's a lot of stuff going on, you don't
We
always
lose
think
it.
that,
Yeah.
but most of the time I used to think that.
I actually, and this is a great thing. When we ask people what kills psychological safety, like the language and delivery comes up a lot,
Yeah,
because it's
yeah,
not the question of like what you say, but it's
yeah,
exactly how you say it.
yeah,
And
exactly.
that intentionality. So, I would love to hear from you, Julie. How did, like, you were like very young leader and like you've been a leader for like last 15 years. How did the definition of leadership evolve for you? What were you always thinking about leadership as you're thinking today, or did it change through time?
I think it changed through time. It evolved through time because at the beginning I'm still young, but I mean I was so young with with these big responsibilities. So I would just try to like pick and choose from the leaders
Mhm.
that I had. I would like read a ton of books on
Got it.
it, try to like educate myself. But I would say the downside of it is that sometimes I felt like I was everywhere and anywhere, and the whole people pleasing aspect really was worse when I was younger.
Yes.
And I ended up just getting so exhausted with that throughout time that I think that changed. I think motherhood also, not to make it about like parenthood and stuff, but that I mean you have so limited time that you really need to be more
Yes.
straight to the point.
Yeah.
But before I would really try to I guess I wanted to be liked by everyone, and in a way like that's great when you're servicing clients and you're going to go the extra mile and you'll go the extra mile with your teams, but there's some people that it's not worth, like you don't need to be liked by everyone, you don't even like everyone, so it's like I was just killing myself doing that. So I think that has really evolved through time. I rather be respected than be liked now.
Mhm.
And yeah, I want to work with people that have the same kind of ambition and still want to have fun and that are talented, but I'm not going to just work with everyone for,
Yes.
for the sake of it. Maybe I'm not being clear, but in the sense that, there's some, I don't want to work with jerks and just,
Yes. No, no, I totally agree with you that this like looks like and it's interesting. A few weeks ago, we had a guest who said that at the beginning of my leadership career, I was searching for approval from everyone
yeah,
that I was overperforming and it was not sustainable. Whereas I
exactly.
think you gain more confidence, you actually gain more clarity about who you are and your leadership identity. And I
Yeah.
just think that it's amazing that now you know that I'm going to become more intentional in who I work
Yeah.
with, and
Yeah,
I'm
and
going
I
to
think
ask
also
for it.
as we age,
Yes,
it sounds like I'm so old, but I mean, I just find as we age, it's like you know a little bit more what you want also. Before I was like,
exactly. Yeah,
let me
we're
try
old.
this.
We call ourselves old millennials. Like we're a bunch
Yeah.
of old millennials offering services and trying to help younger millennials and Gen Zs.
Yeah. But no, but it's true. I mean, but you know what? Sometimes I don't regret being everywhere and anywhere also because it also opened up so many doors
Yes, true.
that, so there's good and bad, but I think as you get old, and probably like when I'll be in my 40s, it'll be like even better because I guess you really just don't give a shit anymore and you're just really on your ex.
I
But I
have
mean,
to say that I'm 42. I still give a little bit of shit,
but maybe
but
50s.
definitely less than 25. I definitely confirm that. And another question that I would like to ask you, we talk a lot about leadership, and for example, the program that we have, Lead Forward. So many people think, but I'm not a leader yet, or I don't have the
Mm.
title yet. And I'll just say, you know what? Sometimes you know that you're a leader and you are influencing. What was that moment for you that you thought that, you know what, I'm a leader?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always characterized my leadership skill a little bit as a mama bear in terms of like
Okay.
protecting my teams. And I think each time, let's say we had client conversations and things weren't going well, I would always want to protect them. And then in moments where I was on the other receiving end, where I was with leaders who wouldn't protect me, then that's when I realized, like, okay, that's really not the leader I want to be. This is the leader I am now. Um, but I had another train of thought, and then now it just escaped me. But
It's because
yeah.
of my coughs, I'm sure.
No, 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 no. You were saying, as we were going, but anyways, maybe it'll come back
Yeah,
afterwards.
but that's actually very interesting that you see your strength in your leadership or your
Yeah,
just identity or like your
yeah, yeah.
traits, even maybe before
Yeah. Well, I
like
just
you have that
remembered
title.
what I was gonna
Go
add
ahead.
is I always used to tell like, friends or even when I was for my own career was like try to act like the role that you actually want. So it's like that's when I like not I guess it's good for leadership, but I think it's good also for like a career in
Yes.
general in the sense of like when I was a planner, I would try to do duties that were a director. When I was a director, I would try to do things that were a VP. And for good or bad in the sense that in some organizations that doesn't really work well because you're just like people think you're stepping on their toes. I would say I've been in a corporate setting where that was fully accepted in the sense that the more you can do, the better it is, the more visibility you have, the more opportunities you will have as well. Obviously that gets very tiring after a certain point, so I think
Yes.
you need to know where to gauge and like not to like exhaust yourself as well. But I think trying to so it comes up and maybe you talk about it also in your classes, but like managing up and manage, like you obviously manage down,
Exactly.
but you also need to manage up. And to be able to manage up, it's like what's the presentation that my boss actually needs to present to the leadership team, so I'm going to do that. And then
Yes.
you know what I mean, like always trying
Exactly. You're just thinking like ahead. Yeah. And I
thinking
love it.
what does he need or what does she need. And but sometimes I'd be wrong obviously, but at least it gives you
That
that
like that
mental.
reflection, that reflection, and I think that confidence that you're also supporting,
Yeah,
bottom up. Like it's
yeah,
not
exactly.
always just like a top down approach. You're also helping your like managers and your bosses and your leaders. So tell me, bring me back to the early days, maybe at Cassette. Like, what was one of the biggest challenges that you had when you were really a fresh leader?
Well, I said people pleasing before. I won't say imposter syndrome because I feel like it's been thrown around a lot.
Mhm.
But obviously, leading people that were much older than me would
Yes, for
stress
sure.
me out. And I guess obviously when you're so young, you actually don't know what you don't know. So it's like I was really trying to know, I was really trying to showcase that I knew all the expertise, that I would be good in finance, that I would be good in admin, that I would be good. And then at one point I was like, no, like this is not the best use of my time. Like I had done, and maybe you do this in your training. We had done a training when I was at Group M on like looking at what are all your strengths and what are all your weaknesses. And right away at that, I remember, I think I was like 26 years old. I was like, oh, these are all my weaknesses. I need to work on all my weaknesses. And then the coach was like, no, actually, these are your five strengths. You got to work on your five strengths. And then at that moment, it was a little bit of an aha moment of like, oh shit, he's kind of right in the sense that these are my strengths. I'm gonna surround myself with people that are experts in what I'm not strong at. If it's admin and I hate to do billing, I'm gonna get someone who's like the queen of billing, you know? And it was to me that was a bit of a shift in the sense. And like when I was, like I said, I was an assistant, so I didn't have anyone, but when I was leading, for example, the Rogers client and I was at OMD, part of Omnicom,
Yes.
yeah, I think we had like, I don't know, eight direct reports, and the one guy was like 20 years older than I was. And
Wow.
I was so stressed out. And then afterwards, I was just like, you know what? I don't care. Like, it doesn't make a difference. This is my strength. This is why I'm here. And everyone brings their secret sauce to the table.
I know, it's really interesting. I've never thought about it this way, but like it is true that in our educational system, also we always think that, oh, this is not what you're good at, so you have to work on it. But then once you really double down on your strength, I think it gives you more confidence that this is why I'm here. And it's going to really decrease that imposter syndrome. And also accepting that these are not what I'm good at, but another thing that I keep hearing from you that I give hear from leaders that you just mentioned is the idea of having all the answers and
Yeah.
like thinking that, oh my goodness, I can ace this and I can do this. And at some point you just say, you know what? No, actually as a leader, maybe your job is to understand the gaps and
Yeah.
bring the right people together and create that safety for them so that we can do the
Yeah,
work
and I think you know
together.
what it comes through time, but I learned one of the things that I like through the evolution of leading teams was active listening. Like at first I was just always talking and like trying to put my if I'm in a meeting, I need to talk. I need to have a point of view. So I would always like prepare and like it's fine. Like it's that's not all bad, but there comes a moment where you need to be an active listener and and I would ask teams when I would do one-on-ones, I would say like, what is it that you need from me? How can I better support you? Like almost like in a relationship. Like you need to know
Yes.
what does the other person actually need? Do you need me to listen or you need
Mhm.
me to give you advice? Like it's
Yes.
sort of and at the end of the day, that's what it is. And sometimes your team members actually just needed to vent. Like it wasn't even I need
Question or
you
a
know,
challenge or a problem. Yes.
when I would genuinely ask, like, what is it that like turns you on professionally in the sense that like, is there a specific project that you want to be on? And like, let's go for it. Like, let's get there. If you're on this team, it means that we're doing a good job and let's get you there. So, and I would I honestly would expect that also from my employer, which sometimes
Yes.
wasn't always the
It's not
case,
the
but
case necessarily. But that's a very good point because this is the reality, especially in larger organizations, that there are different pockets of like culture, and
yeah,
you as a leader can do certain things, but that doesn't mean that necessarily that's a dynamic, existing dynamic. So you might not necessarily get that from the top, which is
yeah,
quite like I would say that this is basically where the tension like lies that
right.
this is correct and you want to do for your team, but at the same time you somehow expect that and need that
Yeah,
also
100%.
like from the top, and that doesn't happen.
And one thing that I should give a shout out actually to L'Oreal that I think they do fantastic work on is this notion of like coffee chats. So it's like
Mhm.
you are responsible for your destiny. Like you are responsible for your career. So it's like there is no it's not badly seen to like meet with a senior VP from another division or whatever. It's like the more you're out there, the better it is, the more visible you are. So there's really some
That's a
great
great
things
practice.
and they thrive on excellence and I mean so I'll give them their flowers.
No, 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 but that's actually great because sometimes, like these conversations come up as like, you're playing politics or you're just getting out of your lane or something. Whereas like this is
No,
just
the
like
lanes are all
expected.
open. It doesn't, it's not a zero sum game. It's not because you have a great successful career that I can't have one. And it's like, it's back, it's the same
Yes,
thing.
I totally agree. And talking about active listening is interesting. Like another guest of us like said that I learned to stop trying to impress people and try to be useful. And
Yeah,
that's where I started to listen and ask
I
questions
agree.
because sometimes that was my usefulness.
It's
Like,
true though, but I mean, because in the beginning you're just like, oh my God, I need to
yeah,
be present.
yeah.
I need to, I would do like one-on-ones twice a week. Like it was just, it's sweet. Like I was exhausting myself, you know? It's like,
Exactly, exactly. I love it. And in our program when we just simply talk about like how can we actively promote psychological safety, and one of the things is say, you know what, just try to be silent. Like if there's a silent, don't jump in. And
yeah,
people come back from sessions that, oh my goodness, now my team talks. I said, it was simple, wasn't it?
yeah,
It just
yeah.
needed you to shut up so that they can talk.
It almost comes down though to like psychology 101, you
Yeah,
know. I do think the
exactly.
way you show up as a manager is the way you were raised, and like we don't want to get into like too much therapy, but like the way, the vision or the dynamics you have with a woman boss versus a man boss is usually a reflection of how you were with your dad or with your mom. So it's like it really comes full circle, and you can, I mean, I personally can see it from miles away depending on how people interact.
True. But okay, talking about this is a great segue to the next question that I'm interested in. Because, when I'm working with leaders, said there's so many things that you want to become, but there are also so many things that, they're called like, someone said, yeah, exactly. Reverse mentorship said, I don't want to be that. What were some of the things that you were observing or even you embraced at the beginning of your leadership career that at some point I said, you know what? I need to let go of this because this is
Yeah,
not the identity of leader that I want to develop
yeah,
from.
yeah. Well, I mean, the image that comes up in my mind, and maybe it was just like because it was such a hard time, was the pandemic.
Yes.
Um, I came on board. I was VP at Starcom, so which is part of Publicis. I didn't meet the team for 2 years, so we worked remote for 2 years. And
Wow.
obviously, it was a really hard time in the sense that, we were all stuck at home. Like there was people that were living alone, so I really tried to double down on like this leader, but that was ultra empathetic, which I actually like I am genuinely, but it
Yes.
became so hard to manage because I would literally like have sessions with employees that were like crying on the line because they were so lonely, and then I would like really find it rough, and I was like, oh, I just want to like go give her a hug or something. But there
Right.
came a moment where I needed to draw the line of like, listen, I'm not her mom, I'm not her therapist, I'm not her like friend or whatsoever. And the good news, and I'll give flowers to publicists, they actually have a program of like, I think they pay $5,000 for therapy
Wow.
annually.
During that time. Wow.
Right. Yeah, which is good. Like that's awesome. So and that came about, I think, through because of the pandemic. But to me, that was one thing of like you can be close, but this notion of like we are family, I do not believe in it. Like I
Yes.
don't think we're family. I think your family is your real family. But when I was younger, I was like, yes, this is my family. Like we're a team. Like
Yeah.
we're like gonna ride or die together. And then you'll have a boss who leaves, and then you're just like, what? I can't believe he just left. Like why didn't he talk to me about it? And it's like,
You
girl,
feel
like he
like
was
an
doing
abandonment.
everything. Yeah, you know. So it's like I think that was a lesson for me. Like I really thought we were so close knit, whether it be like with my bosses or with my teams. But there comes a moment where it still needs to be a little
Boundaries.
bit
And
more.
this is
Well,
actually very, because it's interesting that you say that because there's so many leaders that come, to the podcast, and I just, interview others that they mention that this is not family. But I think that the reason that we use that term was that we're gonna be more human with each other. I think that was the idea that, what, instead of being like machines, this is a family,
yeah, I
meaning
didn't
that
think like
we can build human relationship. Whereas I totally agree with you that it's not like family at all, and there should be healthy boundaries out there, but at the same time, can we be understanding, to your point, like
yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
is that, can we be empathetic, can we even know the context of people's lives so that we know what to expect from them
Yeah.
in
And
terms
when
of
to push, when
performance.
not to push, like,
Exactly, exactly. So I guess
yeah.
that we were just such a, for extreme on the side of like acting like machines. You have to leave your personal life at the door,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah. No, and
which
that's
is,
not true. You don't leave your personal life at the door. Anyone who is gonna tell
yes,
you it's not true. I mean, you can be up all night with a sick toddler, and then you have to present in front of 300 people, and like you make the best out of it. But I mean, you'll obviously share that you've been tired. Like it's, and some people don't. But I mean,
yeah, no, no,
yeah,
no. But it does affect you. I went through entrepreneurship and like my life in engineering with uh, like terminal diseases,
exactly.
losses of loved ones, and then birth of my child. And then this is obviously affects how you show up and how you perform. So there's no way to just, oh, nope. Like,
No,
today
I'm
that's
gonna
not
add
going to
more to it.
happen.
And also on the flip side, I think people need to give themselves grace for what they are living outside of the office, and because some people
Totally agree
will
with you.
try not to show it. Like on the flip, like I had people that were really like opening up and crying, but then I also had other people who were like probably like grieving or something and they wouldn't share. And then you're just like, girl, you need some time off. Like,
Yeah,
it's,
exactly. Yeah, just that balance, just finding that balance. So let's get practical a bit. Tell me about some of the practices that helped you, as a young leader to build capacity for yourself, to build your identity. What were some of the things that you think that, okay, like I built it through time, but now I can share it with younger people?
so I think the first is the obvious one, but like actual training in the sense that when I was at Group M, so I mean j'ai parcours, mais my journey was non-linear in the sense that I started young. I was 19 at Cassette. I decided to skip university in the sense that I didn't skip, but I did like a certificate at night for 3 years, and I was going to do a bac par cumul. Finally, what ended up happening is that when I was at Group M and I was a strategy director, they ended up paying for a mini MBA.
Hmm.
Ended up going, it was like in California. There was a team, we were like maybe 15 out of the WPP network. And I'll say like actual training,
Yes.
like actual leadership training, I think it's 100% valuable. And like I would maybe even do an executive MBA maybe one day, or who knows. Obviously I have a husband who's an entrepreneur who, I mean, he's like, screw the MBA and you like just need to get your hands in it and
Yes.
learn. But I would say practical actual training is valuable. Like obviously a lot of people will talk about mentorship, but I think I haven't had exact mentors, but I think
Hmm.
reaching out to people I trusted again within
Got
my
it.
network,
Hmm.
asking honest feedback. Like I had one boss who was like amazing. I'll shout out to Derek, his name is, who was at Starcom, and like we had done a whole like North Star of like where do I see myself, like a vision board, and
Yes.
where are my weakness. In this case we actually spoke about weaknesses of like where are my blind spots, and
Yes.
being self-aware of like where are your real blind spots. Like you want to do all these things but you don't have the proper training for it, or you haven't really
Hmm.
worked on building those skills. So I think that
Hmm.
notion can definitely help. And again, like mentorship books, I mean, books and podcasts nowadays, like and now even I'll add the extra layer, man, use ChatGPT, use any LLM that you like. I had a really great, listened to a really great conversation of Scott Galloway. This was last summer, where he was talking about how to better utilize AI for your own like mentorship and leadership. And he said, use your latest like performance review from your manager,
Hmm.
upload it on ChatGPT, and then like you obviously need to prompt it properly, but like where are my blind spots? Does my manager have my best interest in mind?
Wow.
Where could I see this going? Like obviously, like take it with a grain of salt. It's not a human, but
Yeah,
still, like I
exactly.
think
No, but
nowadays
still,
younger leaders have even more opportunity, which is scary because now the landscape is so big that it's not just
mhm,
reading a book or just going to a class. It's like literally everyone is competing for the same thing, and the more
yes.
curious you are, more empathetic you are, the more you're open to adapt, like that you're adaptable within the market, I think the better it is. But yeah, so that's like a sort of
That's
very
actually
long.
that's actually very interesting because like we talk like I think that what sometimes like a bottleneck for many young leaders is that they spend a lot of time building that technical capacity, whatever that is, and they so rely on that when they become managers and leaders. And many of them, they just got to that point because they were amazing high
Yeah,
performers. And to
yeah,
your point, just building the skills of leadership, it's really different than the technical skills, and really being intentional about taking classes, leadership development, consuming content, working around it. It's just something, but then this is something that I'm hearing all the time that I want to just run by you, that all of these people, the minute that they become a leader, said that I don't have any time to even connect to my people, let alone build my capacity for leadership. So, and you
yeah,
mentioned also that idea of individual contributor mindset that you
yeah.
had, that you wanted to prove yourself and you're just like, you wanted to have all the answers. What were the mindset shift that helped you move from, okay, I can still perform, but part of my performance is hidden under enablement, enabling
Yeah, yeah,
other
yeah,
people, creating that
yeah.
psychological safety. Like, how
Yeah.
did you make that shift?
And before I just forget about this, I just want to caveat though, like I'm talking about like, spending time on yourself and trying to better
Yes,
yourself. And I understand sometimes you don't have time. The other point that I also want to make is like you need to work hard. Like there's there's some I've met certain young people coming out
yes,
of university that don't want to get their hands dirty. But I
yes,
also do think you need to have, there's always a shitty part of every job.
true.
And I think you need to put your back into it, and you need to do the dirty work in the sense
True.
that
Agree.
learned through time. Like, so that evolution, to your point, I mean, yes, I talk about, I had those like, the mini MBA and all that stuff, but before that, there was like an 8 year of before that, I would
Mhm.
just grind and grind and grind and like really try to learn from all these mistakes. I think good leadership is built through having moments where you didn't think you were going to make it and then you make it, and then you had hardships. Again, bringing this back to a relationship also, like
Yes,
your
exactly.
wife, where it's like you go through moments and then you're like, wow, this like makes us just stronger. And I think as leaders as well, there's moments like when I was on the agency side, we were about to lose a client, or we were
Mhm.
really short staff, and we weren't able to promote anyone. There was hiring freezes. All those individual big moments ladder up to big leadership moments. And like I think that's also where, time, experience and time do come in hand. And
Together, yes.
sometimes being promoted too young is not necessarily better. And like I'll raise my hand on that, in the sense that sometimes I wasn't equipped to deal with the problems and the issues that were like in
Yes.
front of me. I made the best of the situation, but now being a bit older, I can see when someone is really struggling in a situation, they'll make it, but like you should be able to climb the ladder in certain moments. And to your question about people saying that they don't have the time, I'll be blunt, but if you never have the time to invest in your own personal growth, no one will have the time to do it. So it's like you
Mhm.
need to mark your calendars and you need to organize yourselves.
I agree.
And just like, if it's maybe a 15-minute here, 15-minute there. Again, some people also thrive in this notion of busyness.
Yes.
And I think I was a victim of that as well, for sure. Of like, the more I look busy, and I mean, I worked in agencies, we would work 60, 70 hours a week. It wasn't like,
Yeah,
it
exactly.
wasn't a big deal. Everyone was doing it. But there comes a moment where busyness doesn't equal impact. And I think people need to, especially youngsters, like, obviously maybe I'm being weird in the sense of saying you need to hustle, but you also need to know when to stop
Yeah.
and try to, generate the proper.
Controversial. No, but I think that, I also, to your point, see that the personal development has to be part of your hustle as well. Like, it's
Yeah,
not
exactly.
just that, this has to be also planning for it. Like, sometimes the result of our program is that I'm giving 30 minutes for us just to have a meeting with no agenda to talk,
Yeah,
or I'm going to have a 30-minute on my calendar to reflect on my week, writing
yeah,
down my mistakes. Because to your point, like, reflecting on these experiences, that's where the growth happens, not just, okay, we made it happen and then next.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's people need to learn really how to organize their time better. And I
Yes,
think,
for
again,
sure.
bringing back AI, but this is where, you have no more excuses. Like there's so many apps that can like find the specific time slots where you have a 15-minute here, a 10-minute there, and just, organize your time so that you're able
Yes.
to invest in yourself. But like we mentioned, I think the big obstacles that come your way throughout your career make you create the leader that you are eventually.
I love this. And and I love this idea that importance of agency, like self-agency, that we are responsible and accountable, instead of like expecting from the system. And this is exactly like what I when I talk, or like some other, like there are some like even employees that say that, what, we don't know what we need to reskill or upskill in the age of AI. I said, but like your leader doesn't know either. Like you're the one who has to go there. Like no one knows. I mean, like
And
you're
it's
the
like
one who has to do the work.
if you're negotiating your salary and you don't know what your skills are, then girl, it's not gonna happen. Like you need to be
Exactly.
able to bring your best, and like obviously you don't know it right away in the beginning. Like again, I'll say
Exactly.
cut yourself some slack if like you're like year three in your career. I think it comes through time and you know what kind of value you bring. And maybe at the beginning it's literally just asking people like net when you have someone that comes out of university, like in my case, I didn't even have like the bachelor's degree, so I
Yes.
was just always asking how I can help. Like, can I bring
Mm,
you
I love
anything? Being
it.
proactive, I think goes a long way because at the beginning it's potential, curiosity, and how well you can adapt. The rest is like your skills. You don't have them yet. You don't know. Like, yes, you did
Yeah.
classes, but it's not.
No,
You didn't
exactly.
do dirty work.
I love this. So, Julie, what are the challenges that you see among younger leaders that you think that it's a bit more specific to their
Yeah.
time now? Maybe like, with your L'Oreal team, or like, other projects that you think, especially with the AI, is just rising up.
Well, what scares me in a way, and I think of like my own daughter, like what's the landscape going to look like in 10, 15 years? Obviously with AI, obviously with like hybrid work, there's more and more demands. And I mean, we've had at L'Oreal, we had like a executive leadership talk on this of like what's the skills that you're going to need for the future.
Yes.
And it came like I'll steal some stuff from that and also of my own like mixing, but I think constantly being curious. I think the soft skills are going to come back as well in the sense that, AI can only do so much. Yes, it can help you and it can definitely accelerate your growth. There's, I think positions within like entry level positions that are maybe going to not be there because, like, in a way, an analyst, like, the AI can do the job. But
Yeah.
I think if you're constantly curious, if you're able to adapt and you're um, able to be versatile and not precious, for lack of better words, in the sense
Okay.
of,
Tell me a bit more about here. Like, I
I
love
mean,
it.
again, I wasn't precious because I almost didn't have another option in the sense that, I
Hmm.
wanted to have this career. I just saw the building blocks and what it would take, and I just loved being on the agency side as well. So it wasn't, I think someone who maybe has a lot of options or has studied a really long time, like it depends the industry, that's all I'll
Yes.
say, in the sense that in marketing, there's only so many L'Oreals of the world. There's, depending on what your aspirations are, and if your aspirations aren't to build a career, that's fine too. But those who are, and obviously this is, I think the target of
With
your
those
your
people.
audience
Yes.
is growing that really well. Um, yeah, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but I I was gonna just say that I think I said adaptability,
Yes.
curiosity, not being, oh yeah, we were talking about not being precious in the sense of like try out something, like try a
Mhm.
new discipline, like I don't know, learn Google Analytics even if you're a web designer, learn how to build a website even
Love
if
this.
you're, just a podcast host. I think, you and I can attest that building a podcast, like you learn new skills that you didn't think, like just storytelling and setting up a hosting device or whatever, like
Platform. Yeah,
try
exactly.
to not be precious in the sense of like, well, I'm only going to do this. Like I only studied in this and I'm not willing to do, like, let's say I'm not willing to do PR because I am a finance person. Like obviously don't spread yourself thin and you're losing yourself, but
Yeah.
I think especially in the beginning, especially in your 20s, like this is the time to try things out. Like you're
Love
not,
it.
some people can do it when you have 3 kids, and I mean, we all have seen like the JK Rowling memes on Instagram,
Yes,
but
yes, 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 exactly.
at the
Yeah.
end of the day, when you
It's
have
not
in your
majority of us. Yeah.
not the majority of us, and it's like in your 20s, like try it out. Like worst case,
I
don't be
agree.
precious in the sense that if it doesn't work, try it out for 6 months. Worst case, you learn the new skill,
I
versus just staying
totally
in the
agree.
same lane. And I think with AI and with hybrid world, like the world is your oyster in the sense that you can have jobs. I mean, look at us, like we're talking virtually. Obviously, we're in the same city, but you for sure talk to
Yeah.
people in other countries and other
Oh yeah, for
cities,
sure. Yeah, yeah.
and it's not like it used to be. You can literally reach out to anyone. Like if your dream job is to work for, I don't know, Airbnb or whatever, like go check out what it takes and meet full different people. So anyways, I'm diverging and I'm going too long, but
No, but I totally agree with you because, I remember like in 2018 when I started this project, I needed to do some marketing. I was part of an incubator. I had to do market research and I had to interview 10 people per week that I didn't know. And like for a 100 people 10-week program. And I remember I would just reach out to people and there was no such thing as Zoom. I mean, probably they existed, but it was not common. So I would go different cafes in town in Montreal, like me. So, and I said, and I always used to tell people, I said, I met my partner like back in 2008. So I never experienced online dating, but this was the closest
yeah,
because I was just getting there. And, people's pictures on LinkedIn, they're usually 10 years younger
not
and slimmer. So we'll just say, oh my goodness, this is uncomfortable. So to your point,
comfortable.
yeah, exactly. And I said that, you know what? It like you put the work out and it's some time, like it works. And I think that now things are a bit easier to your point, getting on a chat with someone, having
Yeah.
curiosity conversation with people. And I loved what you shared about curiosity, soft skills, human skills, because look at World Economic Forum, and this is exactly what they're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
it is AI literacy and how you're going to use like
I don't know. You need to
technology.
know, like, don't get me wrong, be
Exactly.
trained, understand the LLMs, understand how the platforms work, understand where the content and the conversations are coming from. But other than that, like I think in the workplace anyways, like you cannot just be so tunnel vision. And
Yes.
and I'll also just add one last thing of like get comfortable with rejection. I think
Oh yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
depending on what where you're working, but I think for sure, I mean, you and I can attest, like especially when you
Oh
have a
yeah.
podcast, you reach out to like full of different people, and some
Oh,
people
yeah.
will ghost you, and some people will like, but it becomes part of the process, and
Yes.
it's it's also, but also on the employer side, if you're just up and coming in your 20s, you want to work for Airbnb, for example, but like they're not calling you back. You don't know in 10 years. I mean, I never thought I'd work at L'Oreal when I was 20 years old, and like when I
Exactly.
ended up
Yeah.
getting the job, I was like, oh my God, the 20-year-old Julie is like freaking out. Like, it's like, it's so exciting. So I
I
just say
totally
like,
agree with you. Just leaving that ego aside and just lead with curiosity. I think
yeah,
that will definitely help out. And in leadership, especially as a young leader, I think that curiosity is going to help you better understand your strengths, build new skills, understand your team, being able to adapt with them. So I have still two questions from you that I definitely want to make sure because there is this overwhelm of change and pivoting and
yeah,
leading change and all of that. I want you to share an example. I mean, you've already shared your story, and I can see many moments of pivoting, but tell me the moment that you needed to pivot and what was that mindset to help you so that I'm hoping that through this question that we can give a little bit of confidence to our younger people listening that it is okay to go through change. Like we have to accept it and we have to really navigate it and being able to
yeah. So
write.
I've done a lot of pivots. I worked in 5 different agencies because on the agency side, for you to get a promotion, usually you need to go to your competitors. Unfortunately, like let's just be bluntly honest. But it's also the reputation that you build within the biggest, within the industry that makes it that you
Industry. Yes.
can. Obviously, in the beginning, I always pivoted to like a leadership role, but it was still, I mean, it was still transformative in the sense that I wasn't necessarily in that role for already. So it was meeting new teams, meeting new clients, meeting new like ways of working within the organizations. I would say though the biggest pivot, and maybe it's more women who will connect on this, but So I took the job when I was at Starcom. Got reached out by L'Oreal where they were looking for a head of media. And on the personal front, it had been years that we were trying to have a child and it was not working. And I told myself, oh, I can't go to L'Oreal. Like, what if I end up having a child? And then I had spoken to someone who had just said, no, I think you should go to L'Oreal. I think you've always wanted to do this. And just go for it and it'll be your dream job. And I was just, whatever. Who cares? Like, who cares about our past and wanting a child and
Yeah,
whatever? Finally, day two on the roll, I find out that I'm pregnant.
my goodness.
And so to me, it was a pivot in the sense that like I don't regret it because obviously I have my daughter and stuff, but it was a challenge, obviously onboarding a new organization with all the symptoms of also having a child. But I really do think that you can do it. And I grew from that experience. I met phenomenal people. We built like great projects and grew, grew revenue and actually, hit our KPIs. But it was still, to me, that was a tough pivot. Completely. I was switching industries as well. So I was always on the agency side going client.
And now you're
Um,
the client side. Yeah.
so yeah, so I would say that one was a tough one, but I mean,
Wow. And you made it and you're staying here and you're on the other side. Super successful. So people listening, please.
yeah, I was older. Obviously, it wasn't in the beginning, but you couldn't do it. Also,
Yeah, for sure.
all I'm
So
saying is like, don't stop yourself from a future project. Just
I
take the
agree.
job, and then you'll figure it out.
I love it. And what final message you want to share with these younger leaders that you want to also share with your own, like, your younger self as well? Like,
Yeah,
what do you
listen,
think you need to
I had
do?
written down something, and I like all of a sudden I'm having a blank. But let me just see what I had written.
What you thought
Yeah,
of it?
because I obviously you showed the questions in advance. I think, you don't need to be everywhere and anywhere. I think like
Mhm.
trust yourself, trust your
Love it.
surroundings, and surround yourself with just positive and like freaking awesome people in the sense that like the more you have the Debbie Downers of the world around you, the less you're gonna grow and the more you're gonna think you suck because you have again negative Nancy who's just telling you how she hates her life and how she thinks that you suck as well. You know what I mean? So I mean, I'm dumbing it down, but I think trust yourself, reach out to people if you think they have the number of times that I've reached out to people that I thought just had a fascinating career and just wanted to learn more and like maybe they reach out, maybe they'll respond, maybe they won't. But yeah, I would have told myself to trust myself a little bit more and that, life is so short, like just freaking have fun doing it. If you're so stressed
Right.
out, like
Which we all are now. And like, it's just say, what, guys, chill. Like, it's going to
yeah,
work out. Yeah.
we're not brain surgeons, it's
No.
like I would just say we don't save lives, so you should actually enjoy. It goes back to my resume worthy experiences. Try to have that. Try to find them because that's what life is, worth working for, I think.
Yes. I love
If not,
this.
stay home with your babies, like
I love this conversation, Julie. It was so fun, so honest, so transparent, and I'm sure everyone's listening is just having a blast. As I mentioned to you, we're going to record it also on YouTube. So for everyone listening, we'll be back next week with another conversation, and the YouTube link will be uploaded next Monday. So thank you so much for listening. And again, Julie, thank you so much for joining this conversation.
thank you so much. I think you're so awesome at this. Like I love this
Awesome.
conversation. It was nice. It was sweet.
Awesome. Thank you so much and have a great day, everyone.